Back in 1987, Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece Full Metal Jacket introduced audiences to a sort of prayer or chant, which raw recruits dedicated to their service weapons. This is the Rifleman's Creed and contains lines such as,
"Pray, this is my rifle."
"There are many like it, but this one is mine. My rifle is my best friend, it is my life. I must master it as I must master my life. I will learn its weaknesses, its strength, its parts, its accessories, its sights, and its barrel. Before God I swear this creed. My rifle and I are the defenders of my country. We are the masters of our enemy.
We are the saviors of my life."
The Rifleman's Creed was first published in March 1942 by Major General William H. Rupertus of the U.S. Marine Corps. As such, the Creed is closely associated with the Marines, but its ethos may be applied to all U.S. armored forces, especially infantry personnel. Foot soldiers have a special relationship with their rifle. As General Rupertus put it, it is the only weapon which stands between them and death. For decades, both Marines and the Army have relied on the M16 family of firearms. Most recently, the M4 carbine and the M249 light machine gun. Just like any other weapon, they had their advantages and drawbacks, but have largely been considered a trusty companion to US service personnel fighting on foot. But a new program is about to replace them with a new generation array of equipment spearheaded by Sig Sauer's XM7 rifle. So why is the Department of Defense introducing the new weapons, and how will they hold up compared to their predecessors? The M4 carbine is, in lay terms, the shorter version of the M16 rifle. They belong to the same family of infantry weapons, which the Army has been pushing to replace since the mid-1980s by kicking off the Advanced Combat Rifle Program, or ACR. The ACR was replaced by the XM29 Objective Individual Combat Weapon Program in the 1990s, which in turn morphed into the XM8 project in the early 2000s. All of these efforts were abandoned, but the need to replace the good old M4 as well as the related M249 light machine gun still lingered. The issue became more pressing during the war in Afghanistan, as infantry units reported that both weapons were ineffective when engaging Afghan insurgents at long distances. The problem was that the M4 and M249 chambered 5.56mm ammunition, which suffered from inaccuracy and poor penetrative power. In 2020, the Army produced a stopgap solution, an upgraded 5.56mm cartridge, aka the M855A1 Enhanced Performance Round. But a more definitive replacement had to be considered nonetheless. In 2017, the Department of Defense issued their Small Arms Ammunition Configuration Study, which once again confirmed that existing small-caliber squad-level weapons displayed, quote, limited range and insufficient energy on target. The study introduced another factor as well. The M4 and M249 rounds were inadequate not only against insurgent factions conducting guerrilla actions, but they would prove ineffective against a regular, adequately funded army. More specifically, affordable body armor in the range of $250 apiece could easily stop the rounds fired by the M16 family of firearms. The DoD's report concluded that the best option was to introduce a 6.8mm cartridge expected to outrange and outpunch the 5.56mm rounds. The new caliber was also to be more effective than the 7.62mm shells chambered by several NATO rifles and machine guns. But if you introduce a new type of ammunition, you have to develop a new set of weaponry to go with it. And in fact, the 2017 study encouraged the Army to set up a next-generation squad weapon program, or NGSW, with the ultimate goal of retiring the M4 carbine and the M249 light machine gun. To clarify, this program involves only the Army. The US Marine Corps, Air Force, Navy, and Coast Guard, which will stick to their M4s and other weapons of the M16 family. The NGSW program kicked off in 2018 when the Army invited 3 suppliers to bid for the contract: General Dynamics, OTS Inc., AAI Corporation Textron Systems, and Sig Sauer. The request for proposal, or RFP, was for the development of a next-generation rifle and light machine gun to replace the M4 and M249 respectively. The selected vendor would also act as the lead supplier of a fire control system, i.e. a device designed to enhance accuracy and rate of fire. Moreover, the RFP specified that the new kit should meet the needs of frontline infantry units involved in offensives and defensive combat operations, as well as complex tasks such as entering and clearing trenches and rooms. The next generation firearms will also be provided to combat engineers, medics, scouts, special operations units, as well as security force assistance brigades tasked with training and advising allied nations' militaries. Out of the 3 bidders, Sig Sauer had a recent chance to impress the DoD by winning a 2017 contract to supply all armed forces personnel with their M17 handgun, which replaced the Beretta M9. Apparently, 6 Hour's pitch impressed the department once again, and in April 2022, they were awarded a 10-year contract for the next generation squad weapons, with a ceiling value of $4.5 billion. The contract for the production of the fire control system went to Vortex Optics to the tune of $2.7 billion. The new rifle was initially designated the XM5, although the name was later updated to XM7. 6 Hour also markets this rifle as the MCX Spear. But once the weapon is widely distributed, the X will be dropped, and it thus will be known simply as the M7, while the light machine gun and fire control device will be known as XM250 and XM157 respectively. Based on the Army's budget requests for 2025, their intention is to purchase a total of 111,428 XM7s, 14,335 XM250 light machine guns, and 124,749 XM157 fire control devices. That's quite the shopping list, as it includes more than 250,000 items. 6 Hour will not need to dispatch them all at once, as the Army will only need their order fulfilled in total by 2030. What 6 Hour will have to do, however, is to manufacture and supply the real stars of the show, the 6.8mm rounds, at least initially, as the Army's own Lake City ammunition plant in Missouri will take over production duties by late 2025. 6 Hour based the design of the XM7 on their own MCX Spear rifle, previously available to the private market. This weapon measures 36 inches or 91.4 centimeters in length, of which about a third is taken up by the barrel. The rifle also features a collapsible buttstock and a polymer magazine holding 20 rounds. Each soldier will be equipped with 7 magazines, by the way, for a total of 140. These will be the 6.8mm rounds, of course. The casing of these shells is made in polymer with a brass base. While the bullet itself consists of a copper core with a steel tip, this combination of materials ensures that each round packs way more punch than the 5.56mm cartridges used by the M4s, and is thus able to pierce body armor and other obstacles even at long range. The XM7 comes fitted with a SIG SLX suppressor, which fulfills 3 purposes. It reduces toxic fumes blowing back on the soldier's face by shooting by up to 80%. It reduces the flash generated by each shot, and it suppresses the noise of firing the gun. Hollywood has taught us that suppressors reduce the loud bang of a firearm to an almost soothing sound, sort of a but akin to the blowing of a pea shooter. But the reality of physics, stupid physics, teaches us that high-end suppressors can reduce noise levels by no more than 30 decibels. According to the Council for Accreditation in Occupational Hearing Conservation, the noise levels of firing an infantry rifle are in the range of 160 decibels. Hence, the SLX suppressor will tone that down to approximately 130 decibels, which is equivalent to the noise produced by a jackhammer. So it's still high and pretty harmful to the human ear. Nonetheless, 6 Hour and the Army reassure that the use of SLX will help troops better communicate with each other over the din of combat. As loud as the XM7 will be, it will be but a whisper compared to the automatic fire of the XM250 light machine gun. This is an air-cooled, gas-operated squad weapon, filled with fabric ammo pouches containing either 50 or 100 rounds of the 6.8mm caliber. The XM250 comes fitted with the same suppressor as the XM7, and the 2 weapons will also share the same fire control system, the XM157. This battery-operated system integrates a set of capabilities previously almost exclusive to snipers and special forces operators. For example, it integrates a magnification optic, able to enlarge intended targets as much as 6 times, a ballistic calculator, infrared aiming lasers, as well as a digital display overlay. So, the XM157 is quite a sophisticated device, but it's far from being delicate. It weighs around 4.8 pounds or 2.2 kilos and can endure extreme temperatures and heavy recoil. But what's really cool about the XM157 is that it features wireless connectivity, which could potentially link it to the Integrated Visual Augmentation System, or IVAS. To clarify, IVAS is a program jointly developed by the Army and Microsoft. It's expected delivery in 2025, and it is unrelated to the next generation squad weapon program. Nonetheless, it's definitely worth mentioning here and possibly exploring in the future. The IVAS is an augmented reality headset described by the Office of the Director of Operational Test and Evaluation as including, quote, a heads-up display, a HUD, a body-worn computer, a puck, and networked data radio. The IVAS HUD provides a see-through display and augmented reality capable of integrating thermal and low-light imaging sensors, a built-in compass for navigation, and tactical assault kit situational awareness software. The intra-soldier wireless provider rapid target acquisition capabilities connecting the sights mounted on a soldier's weapon to the sight picture in the HUD. Oh my god, that was a mouthful. But even before the IVAS is fielded, the combination of the XM7, XM250, and XM157 will provide great advantages to the capabilities of individual infantry squads. As summarized in the Army's budget review, quote, ensures increased lethality against a broad spectrum of targets beyond current/legacy weapon capabilities, increased range, accuracy, and probability of hit, reduced engagement time, suppressed flash/sound signature, and improved controllability and mobility. The military really does like long sentences, don't they? The Army document makes a reference to current/legacy weapon capabilities, which raises the question, how will the next generation squad weapons compare to the good old M4 carbine and M249 light machine gun? Now, one key difference, consistently reported by early testers, was weight. At 14.5 pounds or 6.6 kilos, the XM250 is 4.6 pounds or 2.1 kilos lighter than its predecessor, which must make for welcome news for the poor sod who's got to lug it around the battlefield. But that grunt will also have to carry the basic combat load of 4 ammo pouches for a total of 400 rounds. The weight of the ammunition is 27 pounds or 12 kilos. On the other hand, a machine gunner in charge of an M249 will pack 600 rounds, weighing less than 21 pounds, that's 9 kilos. All things considered, an XM250 gunner will be burdened with an extra 2 pounds or 0.9 kilograms compared to his M249 colleague, while carrying 200 fewer rounds. So let's look at the rifles now, shall we? The XM7 weighs 9.8 pounds or 4.4 kilos. The M4, just 7.4 pounds, that's 3.3 kilos. Now, that might not sound like a massive weight increase, but a couple of extra pounds can make a difference if you're marching about rifle in hand for hours on end. And that does not include the weight of the ammo. Soldiers carrying an XM7 will pack 7 magazines for a total of 140 rounds and a weight of 11.5 pounds or 5.2 kilos. By comparison, the combat load of an M4 includes 210 rounds across 7 magazines, weighing just 7.5 pounds or 3.4 kilos. So, doing the maths here, the soldier equipped with an XM7 will be carrying an additional 6.4 pounds or 2.9 kilos worth of equipment compared to his colleague with an M4. Moreover, XM7-wielding infantry will be able to shoot 70 fewer rounds than their predecessors. All in all, units equipped with the next-generation squad weapons will be able to unleash a reduced firepower. However, that does not mean that they will be less effective. According to Army sources, the increased accuracy, range, and lethality afforded by the new 6.8mm slugs and the XM157 systems should, quote, reduce the number of rounds needed to either kill or suppress a target. Now, weight is still a consideration, and it's just one of the many advantages and drawbacks picked up by firearms experts and infantry personnel during the testing. The first round of extensive tests reported by the Army took place in September 2023 and were performed by elements of the 101st Airborne Division and the 75th Ranger Regiment at Fort Campbell in Kentucky. The Screaming Eagles of the 101st trialed the XM7 and XM250 by firing them side by side with the M4 and the M249 respectively. All weapons unleashed their rounds against human silhouette targets placed behind cinder blocks. The soldiers were pleased to see how the 6.8mm rounds pierced through the blocks, cleanly striking the targets behind them. By comparison, only one single shot from the M249 managed to damage one of the cinder blocks. Lieutenant Colonel Mika Rue, product manager for soldier weapons at the Army Program Executive Office, commented, "That's turning cover into concealment." In other words, enemies are very welcome to try and hide from the next generation light machine gun, but may not survive in one piece to tell the tale. During the exercise, Head of Army Acquisition Doug Bush revealed that prior small-scale tests had identified minor issues with the accuracy of the weapons as well as unsatisfactory suppression of fumes. The results of the Fort Campbell tests, however, prompted Bush to reassure the Pentagon that, quote, "We saw great progress on all the challenging areas, so we're not declaring victory, but a really good sign of progress." In January 2024, the new firearms underwent further tryouts at the Cold Regions Test Center in Fort Greely, Alaska. Troops handled and fired the XM7 and XM250 in worse than freezing conditions at temperatures of -35 Fahrenheit or -37 Celsius. According to Major Brandon Davis at the Soldier Lethality Cross-Functional Team, the Alaskan exercise was vital as, quote, "extreme cold can affect the weapon's functionality, of course, but it also hinders a soldier's movement and mobility. We're getting after every aspect of how the NGSW impacts lethality and mobility under extreme conditions." So, That's the cold setting sorted. The Army will test the weapons and fire control system also in hot weather and tropical environments, but that's not until 2025. In the meantime, the Eagles of the 101st had a second opportunity to put the NGSW kit through its paces in September and October of 2024. This 8-week exercise was designed to closely simulate combat, with soldiers performing individual movement techniques such as low crawls and high crawls while shooting at targets up to 328 yards or 300 meters away. Next, troops tested the rifle, light machine gun, an optics system, and a CBRN simulation, which stands for chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear environments. According to Army sources, the next-generation weapons have undergone a total of 25,000 hours of testing, which equates to almost 3 years in total. But what are the opinions of the customers? Well, following the 2023 exercises, feedback was largely positive, with a 75th Ranger officer stating that the XM250 was a, quote, welcome replacement to the outdated and largely unreliable M249. It's lighter, more accurate, and uses a far superior round. Another happy customer said, the XM7 is incredible in terms of its features and capabilities. The new round is amazing performance-wise. But the officer commented that the rifle was too heavy and too large for a standard infantry weapon. I see it as more of a designated marksman rifle rather than a standard issue combat rifle. Enlisted ranks and NCOs appeared more enthusiastic, praising the lethality of the XM250, the stopping power of the 6.8 round, and accuracy of the XM7 at long range. The kit was reviewed also by weapons expert Eric Tegler, writing for Forbes, who was particularly impressed by the fire control system. The XM157 sight atop the rail makes shooting accurately comically easy at close to mid-ranges. Using the zoom and putting the reticle on a target yields hits even for novices. A skilled shooter can hit targets at ranges rumored to be around 2,000 yards. Tegler also noted that how, paradoxically, the XM250 light machine gun was somehow easier to wield than the smaller XM7, quoting him again, "The feeling of power is tremendous, yet the recoil is surprisingly smoother than that of the XM7." Staff Sergeant GS from the 101st 1st Brigade also acknowledged that the new rifle presented some added weight and recoil compared to the M4, but these were more than offset by the XM157 system. Quote, "I love the optic. It honestly makes the heavier weight worth it. You can get on target faster, your precision goes up, more rounds faster, and more accurate on targets downrange." Sergeant MC chipped in, praising both the optic and the power of the new ammo, quoting again, "I think they really hit their mark with the rifle's design. I don't think anybody with body armor is going to be able to survive a round from the XM7. Light-skinned armored vehicles, same story. The penetration from the round is just a huge improvement over the M4. Their superior officer, Colonel Trevor Volkel, compared the new control system to the old optics as, quote, "kind of like going from my Nokia flip phone to an iPhone." So, everybody loves the NGSW kit and everybody is happy with Sig Sauer. Isn't that nice? Well, not so fast, as Army official sources may have ignored some of the more critical comments from early testers. In October 2024, veteran-led digital publisher We Are the Mighty reported on the comments posted in the Army subreddit by user Vindictive Evader. We Are the Mighty speculates that user Vindictive Vader may have been an NCO with the 101st. Whatever the rank or unit, the user explains having experienced several issues while firing some 2,000 rounds with the XM7. Quoting them here, "I have never seen a weapon have so many malfunctions, namely failure to extract, eject, even when properly cleaned. The suppressor works fine, but the locking ring is so stupid. We had 2 break in the classroom." When it comes to the light machine gun, Vader noted how the casing of the 6.8mm rounds often blew apart while shooting, which meant that, quote, "stuck casings are common in the XM250. And, well, what of the advanced fire control system? Quoting again, "The Vortex XM157 is I usually like Vortex products, but this one is bad. Several adjustments just randomly migrated. The brightest setting is nowhere near bright enough, almost invisible on a sunny day." Now, these issues are not entirely catastrophic, and the disgruntled user acknowledged that they may be related to poor quality control itself, a result of increased production output or rush delivery to meet deadlines. Vindictive Vader is not the only critic taken to Reddit, though. In October 2024, one Spartan Shock 117 made some interesting arguments about the need in the first place for the next-generation weapons and the 6.8mm rounds. Quoting them, "I have no doubt the rifle will eventually mature and effectively address the current mechanical issues. My biggest concern with XM7 is I don't agree/believe that it is necessary in the first place. The question is it worth the trade-offs in weight, recoil, decreased ammo capacity, decreased maneuverability, and decreased interoperability?" The point made by this user was that foot soldiers should be more wary of artillery than enemy soldiers flaunting body armor. Therefore, infantry should be kept lightweight and highly mobile. Moreover, the user pointed out that other US services beside the Army as well as NATO allies have no plans to adopt the 6.8mm rounds, which will pose a huge hurdle to future joint operations. So, well, what's the verdict about the next generation squad weapon system overall? Now look, obviously we did get the chance to go and shoot the thing ourselves, although that would be seriously cool. All we can do is report on the differing views and opinions of the experts and acknowledge that teething problems are always to be expected when new equipment, processes, or doctrines are introduced into a large organization. It is also expected that not everybody will agree with or be happy with the changes in question. Nonetheless, the process of change is already in motion, and between October 2024 and September 2025, the NGSW equipment will be fielded to 2 Army brigades, 1 National Guard brigade, 3 Army battalions, selected elements within 2 additional Army divisions, as well as 1 training school. These early access units include the 101st Airborne and 75th Rangers, of course, as well as the 10th Mountain Division and the 1st Armored Division, among others. Eventually, the final verdict will be up to them. Through additional training and testing, they will be able to confirm if the XM7, XM250, and XM157 metaphorically and literally hit the mark beyond their established issues. To quote from another section of the Rifleman's Creed, "My rifle and I know that what counts in war is not the rounds we fire, the noise of our burst, nor the smoke we make. We know that it will be the hits that count. We will hit."